Ledn is a place that lets you use your Bitcoin as collateral to get the dollars you need without having to sell it. In most places, selling your Bitcoin triggers a taxable event, whereas taking a loan and using your Bitcoin as collateral typically doesn't trigger a taxable event. And what people like about our products is that, most if you're a person or a company that's on a Bitcoin standard, you know all your savings are in Bitcoin, but you have a fiat obligation that comes due, or maybe an investment opportunity where the investor doesn't take fiat, or you just don't want to get rid of your Bitcoin, and you just don't want to get rid of your Bitcoin to invest. You can use your Bitcoin as collateral for a loan at Ledn, get the funding you need to cover that expense to invest in that new business, and when you get the payment or when you get the cash flow back, you can repay the loan, get your Bitcoin out, or you can keep the loan open and Bitcoin appreciates over time. And at a future date, you can sell a fraction of the Bitcoin to repay that loan. So in any event, it lets you hold on to good money and borrow money and borrow bad money and spend that bad money while holding on to your good money. So anyone that's experienced a situation like we did in Venezuela learned the hard way that when you got dollars, the worst thing you could do was spend those dollars if you could instead borrow bolívares and spend that instead. So it's really a product that has been used, through eons and eons by humanity in order to hold on to good assets or good money and borrow weak assets or weak money. It's not different than a dollar mortgage on a U.S. property. This is just a way for you to mortgage your Bitcoin.
Absolutely. And then also too, guys, like this is a non-taxable event because this is a loan. By the way, like if Jeff Bezos or like Elon, right, like one of the ways that, you always hear this, like these billionaires, like they don't pay, they don't pay these taxes. They're like, what's going on? So what they do is that they take their stock, they take it to a bank and they say, hey, could you give me a loan against this stock? Take this stock as collateral. And they get basically a cash loan. And because it's a loan, it's not a taxable event. So think of Bitcoin, as this pristine collateral that you can use as a tool, but you have to do it responsibly. Now, I do want to address some questions in the chat. There was one on Rumble, and there was one, I believe, on YouTube as well. Are these loans only for businesses? Or are they for personal loans? So for addressing the question on Rumble and on YouTube, no, these are individual loans.
No, we do businesses too. So we can do business loans. We can do personal loans. We even service some publicly traded companies, in fact, that come to us because they can't offer or access bond markets with the ease that Michael does with strategy. But we list or we service publicly listed and private businesses and family trusts, etc., and individuals as well. So if you're looking to onboard a business, contact us, contact our team. We'll be happy to onboard that for you. But we can service your entity, your trust, your business, you as a person.
And I see someone in the chat on Rumble too describing, basically they're talking about a home loan. I know that you've facilitated that. Basically, an OG Bitcoiner that didn't want to sell their Bitcoin, and they essentially wanted to upgrade their house or buy a new house, probably because of the wife. And looking at you, Sophia. With the guilty face, she looks back. You guys have helped that. You guys helped that OG Bitcoiner do that. Is that correct?
That's right. So a lot of our clients are, either entrepreneurs, self-employed, or early Bitcoin investors, and they're now Bitcoin retired. So when people are in that position, like I'll give you the example of a person that holds, he's lucky, he's like, $10, $20 million worth of Bitcoin, and he doesn't have a job today, clearly, because why would you? So let's just say that person wants to buy a new house, right? Or his wife, their family's growing, they had their second kid, they're trying to move it to a bigger place. That person typically the first thing they'll try to do is they'll go to their bank who they've been with for their entire lives, and they'll say, I'm looking to buy this property. I need a mortgage. What would you like as a down payment? And the bank will turn around and say, well, what's your income? And the person will say, oh, well, I don't have any income. I'm retired because I'm wealthy. I live off of my investments. And they'll show you, you'll show them your Bitcoin position. And they'll say, well, A, that's not an asset. And B, I cannot lend you money because you have no income to buy the house. And then the person will say, but I have $10 million worth of Bitcoin. And the bank will turn around and say, that's not an asset and that's not income. I need to assess your income to let you buy the house. And so basically this person is shut out of traditional financing options. And they don't want to sell their Bitcoin to buy their house. So they'll go to a place like Ledn, where if the house is $1 million, they'll have to put $2 million worth of Bitcoin collateral with us. We'll advance them the $1 million. We don't go under credit history. We don't check their credit record. For us, your Bitcoin is your credit worthiness. So you get the $1 million you need, you buy the house. And the other benefit from that is that if you are using us because you are long Bitcoin and short dollars, the worst thing we could possibly do is to ask you to make us dollar interest payments every month, because that's precisely what you came to us for. You didn't have dollars, you borrowed them. So our loans by default, in no format do they require you are obligated to make monthly interest payments every time. The cost or the accrued interest for those loans accrues into the outstanding amount until you decide to repay that loan. And if you get to the end of the 12-month term and your loan to value is still under 60%, you can roll that loan into a new term also without having to make monthly interest payments. So I have clients that have had loans open for 3 and 4 years, and they haven't made monthly interest payments. I think they've paid back down partially when they get a windfall that they can make a repayment at any time, but they just keep the loan rolled. They roll it and they roll it and they roll it. Many times the value of their Bitcoin they put as collateral has far surpassed the value of the house that they paid for in the first place years ago. So it's a product that is designed for people and businesses living on a Bitcoin standard. And I think your point about no monthly interest payments is an important one, because there's, when companies that are seeing the success we're having after 7 years of building this thing, a lot of companies are now starting to come into this space and wanting to participate, not because these products are new, they've been around for 7 years, but they're coming in now because they see dollar signs and they want to take a slice out of what they think is going to be a big pie. And the way they're trying to seduce people away from a company like Ledn that's tested and proven and has been doing this and really pioneered this thing 7 years ago, is by trying to say, or offering sexy headline rates, or hiding some fees in the fine print and offering you rates starting from X. But then when you go and say, okay, well, how do I make this loan similar to Ledn's, where I don't need to make monthly payments, where the amounts start at this much, and where I have the ability to redeem excess collateral. These things aren't available in these services, or they don't offer them. But if they offer them, they offer them for a fee. And then when you add everything together, it works out to that loan being oftentimes, most times, more expensive than ours. And if not, at best, you're saving a few basis points to take a massive risk with a lending product that's been out for just months instead of 7 years.
Absolutely. And I think that's the key point too, guys, because I've been seeing it in the chat kind of live, the last couple of weeks or so, just kind of major announcements by kind of different players in the space. They're trying to get into the Bitcoin collateralized loan game. And this is something that you guys have to understand about Ledn, right? It's a time and tested product. You guys have proof of reserves. I think that's incredibly important. No monthly interest payments, right? That's a big differentiator. And what I really, really appreciate about what you guys do as well, Mauricio, is you haven't forgotten our roots, my friend. So your guys' minimal loan rate, and we get this question all the time on Simply. You guys go to $500 is the minimum loan rate, right? So you're not seeing that anywhere else, because everywhere else they see the dollar signs. Mauricio, you didn't forget your roots, my friend.
But I mean, listen, you can tell a lot about what anyone's trying to maximize for, a lot more by what they do than by what they say, right? Like if somebody's telling you, I want to bring a product for the people and the minimum amount is like 50K plus or even 10K plus, and the product is not accessible in places like Latin America or other parts of the world, then this is not really, you're putting out a product that's designed to beef up a book by targeting large borrowers, right? You're not really trying to facilitate access to those who need it the most. So, as you know, I think what comes at odds sometimes is that they will try to portray these solutions as sort of all encompassing and done for the greater good and for the for the benefit of the people. But when the product comes out, they're not benefiting that people that they're talking about. They're benefiting the actually entire opposite side of the spectrum. And I'm not saying both people, or both types of people, or everyone doesn't have a legitimate use for the product. Whether you're a billionaire or you're Miguel in Medellin, both of you have a legitimate use case for this product. Both of you should have access to this product. I'm not trying to say one person is worthy and the other one isn't. What I'm trying to say is the hard part is servicing Miguel in Medellin. That's the real hard part. Servicing Michael, with $1 million loaned out of some U.S. state, that's not hard. You have 5-6 loans. You'll have a book in the millions with like 10 clients. That's very easy to manage. That's very, that's very sort of simple to do relative to an operation that has to process loans as low as $500 in different parts of the world and manage that person when the market gets volatile, and having the tech stack and the team that's designed to do that. So at Ledn, that was always our ethos. We wanted to build, and not only just for Miguel's sake in Medellin. If you're a person that has $1 million and still wants to borrow, I would encourage everyone to try a $500 loan before they go 2 feet deep, right? Like, it is about accessibility. It is about making or getting the product closer to people and reducing the friction. It's not about cherry picking the juiciest clients for a particular outcome. It's if you really want to do this, there's ways to do it. And I would argue that, if you're going to come out and try to compete with Ledn, don't do just the easy things. Like, do the hard things too. Like, do the proof of reserves, do the small loans, try to get it more accessible to more people, right? Like, I see a lot of people trying to say that, we can try to offer lower rates, and they're hiding their fees in different terms, in different parts of the terms and conditions. But again, if you look down at the actual offering itself, it's not really intended to further the Bitcoin ethos in the way a lot of times it's portrayed.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's pay attention to the fine print. And again, I think the clear differentiator, the breakdown is, again, proof of reserves, the transparency, right? The no monthly payments aspect of it. I think that, to me, is extremely important, right? Because as you mentioned earlier, again, like I said, guys, like I personally use this product, and I remember the first time I set up my loan, and that was like, getting handheld by Mauricio. And like, I was just like, all right, like, dude, like, how do I like put in my bank account or something? And and it was just like, it wasn't obvious to me. Right. And it's so true, because that's the whole point, right? Like, you need cash. Right. And what would be the point of that if you have to give some of that cash away back monthly, right? So it kind of defeats the purpose. And again, this is a great tool, guys. I highly recommend it. It's a great way to, again, just not have to sell your Bitcoin. But I will caveat that with you have to be responsible. There was a great question up top, and I did want to address it. I'll let Mauricio answer it, but basically, BTC Believer says, if the price drops, do we have to put up more BTC as collateral, or do we have to pay it back or lose the BTC we already have with you?
Yeah, it's a great question. So BTC Believer, as you well point out, the Bitcoin that we take as collateral is the only security we have on the loan. So we have to make sure that at no point the collateral you pledge to us drops below in value relative to the dollars we lent to you. So as the price of Bitcoin drops, if your LTV, so your loan to value, starts at 50%, we lend you 50% of the value of the Bitcoin you pledged as collateral. So if you pledge $1,000, you'll get a $500 loan. As the value of that collateral drops, your loan to value ratio will increase. So it'll go from 50 to 60 to 70. When it reaches 70%, you'll start getting notifications that you need to add more Bitcoin or make a partial repayment to the loan. Either one of those actions reduces the loan to value. At Ledn, our hard and fast rule is, if and when the loan gets to 80% LTV, our system automatically sells as much Bitcoin as is needed to close the loan and returns whatever delta is remaining to your Bitcoin transaction account. So it's very important for you to, and when you're taking out a Ledn loan, you will also see what your indicative liquidation price is. So it's very important, as you're taking a Ledn loan, that you never use your full amount of Bitcoin to collateralize that first loan, because you must assume that under some market conditions, you will be asked to send more Bitcoin to protect that loan. And we have many options to help you do that. You can proactively over collateralize that. A lot of our clients do. Just because the loan starts at 50% doesn't mean you can't send more Bitcoin. No, we're not going to stop you from doing that and drop your margin or your liquidation price. A lot of our clients do that. You can also have there's also an address for each loan where you can send more Bitcoin throughout the loan while it's open. So if you're going to bed and you feel like the market's rocky and you think something might happen overnight, you can also send extra Bitcoin to it just if you want to just be safe. And last, we have a feature called auto top up, which is unique to Ledn as well. And it lets you park extra Bitcoin in our transaction account, which is effectively a cold wallet address where the assets are held in BitGo. And you pre-authorize Ledn to move the Bitcoin on that account to your loan collateral address if and when it needs it. We've been in this business for 7 years. I've heard many stories about Bitcoiners going on cruises, on long hikes. They're not taking their hardware wallet. I'm going to be on an overnight flight. What happens if the market moves? So now you have the option to turn on auto top up if you need it. Importantly, the other important benefit at Ledn, which you should check with any other lender, I don't think most of them allow you to do this, but in the same way you can send more Bitcoin, and we ask you to send more Bitcoin as the price goes down, as the price of Bitcoin goes up and your loan becomes over collateralized, you can take that excess Bitcoin off. So when your LTV goes below 30, there's a button that lights up at Ledn and you can redeem Bitcoin to bring your LTV back to 40%. So it's even Stevens, as we like to say. In the same way you need to send more on the way down, you can take off from the top on the way up. Again, things like auto top up, things like being able to redeem collateral, things like no monthly interest payments are all things that at Ledn are by default for free included into the fees that you're paying. In other lenders, they'll try to strip these things out and make them into like extra payment benefits just so that they are able to show you a lower interest rate and try to, in many cases, fool you or mislead you to think that your all-in cost is going to be much cheaper than working with us, which in fact is rarely the case.
Need liquidity without having to sell your Bitcoin? For more than 6 years now, Ledn has been the trusted choice for Bitcoin-backed lending with transparency, security, and trust at their core. I absolutely love these guys, and I personally not only have an account with them, but also a loan. And some of the key features that I love about Ledn is the fact that there are no monthly payments. You pay at the end of the term. You also have the ability to roll over the loan as well, and you can pay it back whenever you want. Essentially what they do is that they help their clients unlock the liquidity of their BTC, allowing you to HODL while still accessing the wealth of your Bitcoin. They've been battle tested with their focus on transparency, security, and trust, allowing them to build a proven track record of client success and security, helping tens of thousands of clients harness the value of their digital assets with confidence and peace of mind. Learn more about what your BTC can do for you today. Simply Bitcoin viewers get 0.25% off their first loan by using the link in the video/podcast description. What are you waiting for? Head over to ledn.io today.